done a nice job. He's got a lot of good traits for a guard, and he's really done a nice job since he's been there. It has been hard to rep other. I was just mentioning Jalen Moore and Colton McKivitz are other guys that we want to get some right guard work. Mm-hmm. It's been a little hard through the course of camp with our numbers game, and McGlinchey coming off the injury has been not limited, but just they're easing the reps. And the same with Trent. You don't want to overdo Trent this time of year. So all of a sudden it's hard without killing those guys to say, okay, you're going to play guard as well. Right. We did it one day with McKivitz and really wore some guys out, letting him get some guard work in there. So it's a challenge, but it's not like Spencer hasn't done a good job, and this is the way we planned to do it. Personally, I did, and let's see how this goes, and then we have other guys that if it doesn't go well or if he's not ready, we have other guys that can step in and get that work as well, and we still have Dan Brunskill working center that was our starting right guard.
Yeah. It was probably a premature type of question because Burford has by no means obviously arrived 6-7 practices into camp, but it's starting like a buzz of like, why was he in the 4th round? So why do you think? I mean, obviously UTSA is not in the SEC, but I mean, were you guys pretty excited to see him still hanging around the mid-round?
I mean, I really hate answering that. I don't hate answering that question, but I laugh because everybody says that. I can't believe, like, I heard an interview today, they were talking about the kid that got drafted by Carolina, the kid out of North Carolina State, I think it was, Icky, whatever his name was, the offensive tackle. Okay. He says, I can't believe he was there at the 3rd pick or whatever. Like, there were going to be a lot of players at the 3rd pick, I mean, but he was one of them. But no, I mean, Spencer was a guy just, like always, you have guys you like, and everybody has guys that like different things, you know, and there's things that we saw in him that we liked, and so other teams might not have liked the same things, and that's why he falls. So, our skill set, not saying we're a lot different, but we do the quickness, the speed. The thing that intrigued me so much is his length. He's got good length, and we did project him going inside, although I did think he could play tackle. I'm glad we have him at guard. He probably could play tackle, but I like him better guard. He's got just great arm length, and it really helps in pass protection, which if there's going to be a learning curve from a guy moving from tackle to guard and then starting playing in the NFL, that arm length will help in protection. Protection's the biggest thing. I mean, the run game, run off the ball, go hit, we're good in the run game. It's the protection piece of it. If you can move well enough, the run game's fine, and he can. It's the protection piece, and that's what's going to help him. Is this length, and that's what was intriguing to me. And so far, so good. Like you said, it's 7 days in. It's really early. We've got 3 interior positions that are all guys are working, and how good's it going to be? How average? How bad? I don't know. We'll have to keep working through it, and I don't think it's going to be answered anytime soon. I mean, I'm not saying that we have to start somebody on opening day, and we will, and we'll work through it, but at some point during the course of the season, this thing will start to gel and take shape, and hopefully we could do our part to help us win games along the way. But it's not like we're marching 3 guys in there that are, 3 more pieces to the 5 blocks of granite. We've got, we got to get some guys in there that have to work, and they have to go through the learning curve of being starting players. Unless Dan, ends up being starter, but then for him it'll be, he did start in 2020 Summit Center, but as I tell him, it almost didn't count. He had a bum shoulder and he was all beat down, and it was in a rough year. So this for him, if he's the starting center, it's still going to be 3 new guys in there potentially, at least new at their positions.
Speaking of that, that's one thing we can't really see is how well the center has taken on all the the cerebral aspect, the communication aspect. How have Jake and Dan responded in that way?
They're both really, really. That's one of the things that intrigued me about him early when I met him, is how quickly we had when we were in Miami, Adam Gase cut 3 guys after the 6th game, offensive linemen. 2 of them were starters, gone. We just said, we're losing, we're not any good, we're gonna get rid of these 3 guys. So we brought in all these practice squad guys and players from other teams that run the stream. We just brought in like 5 or 6 guys, and Jake was one of the guys, and immediately Jake and a guy named Jesse Davis, who actually played for the Dolphins for a while, signed a contract there, and then they let him go this year, and he's in Minnesota now. Those 2 guys just jumped out, and how quickly they both learned the offense, communicated with me well. So Jake's communication has been really, his communication, understanding the offense is really good, and then Dan's been here, and Dan's really, really, really smart. He works really hard at it. He and Alex Mack sat next to each other, and sometimes they were talking about things I don't know what they're talking about. They're really smart dudes. So Dan, they're both really good guys, and we've got Keaton Sutherland is in there as well. He's not he's not competing for the starting job, but he's a good, smart kid too. We've got a good group. I'm telling you, a great group.
Sorry, would you like my chicken down to the front?
Yeah.
We're trying to get this on camera.
Oh, okay, sorry. It sounds like Alex had, just in the one short year that he was here, he obviously had a wealth of knowledge, decade plus in the NFL.
Right.
Do you feel that some of those other center candidates like Dan were able to soak that in while he was
Well, I
here?
think what you see with Alex was there's some tricks to the trade, and I think Jake, gleaned, and I think Bronsko probably did as well. But I think also it's just Alex was just how he prepared. Alex just loved to practice hard, loved to play hard on game day, and he prepared very, very well. And so you could see his preparation during the week, the questions he asked, the notes he took, the film he watched. I mean, he would kill him right before game day. Alex would call me in, and he'd have the whole playbook, scout report open, and he'd say, okay, and he'd have 20 questions. Circles, notes, highlights. Half of them were Alex. We changed that during the week. We update things on the iPad now, but you're still using paper, so that's been changed already. But I mean, Alex was an old dog, new tricks. He loved a great guy. I love Alex, but yet that would be, and then the rest of them there'd be legitimate questions. I'd say, Alex, yes, you're right. We're hanging out here, and we might not give him the look that week, but he'll pour over every single picture. And Dan's much the same way. So those types of things, when a player sees, this guy's been to 6, 7 Pro Bowls or whatever it is, and here he is just studying his playbook, and he's really smart. We know how smart he is. He probably doesn't need to do it, but that's still his process to prepare. It was cool for guys to see.
You gave Brendel a strong recommendation. I guess part of the reason he's here, but if you look at his NFL resume, you would say, well, oh no, he could start for the 49ers at center. This might be a problem. What? And that's just, but he hasn't played much.
Sure.
He's 29 years old. What don't people know about him?
Well, I think the thing that we talked about it briefly is just, I think when I first came in contact with Jake, how quickly he learned the offense. So I'm not worried from a mental standpoint about that. Mm-hmm. His physical traits, I mean, he started almost every snap the time he was at UCLA. So he's got a lot of playing experience. His measurables, his intangibles, his pro. When you look at him coming out, there's a ton of really good things in his body that he can move and do. And I've coached him and I've watched him do it. Everything translates to being able to do it. Is he gonna do it? You gotta do it.
Yeah.
So now it's his opportunity. Whether this is his opportunity or at some point during the season or whatever, maybe it's not again. But if it is, this guy has all the pieces. I've made this comment when we're looking at it. We get free agent, don't get a free agent. We have these draft picks. We have these guys here like Jake, and you say Spencer, you say Aaron Banks, you say Jalen, you say Colton McKivitz. I said we drafted these guys for a reason. Mm-hmm. We like these guys. They're the right kind of people. They all work hard. They all have a skill set. Now, what's their level? A couple of these guys are later round draft picks. Are they going to ascend to a starting level? Are they going to be more of a backup guy? Jake's in that group. He's not wasn't a high pick. I don't think he was drafted. I think he was an undrafted guy. But the skill set and the person say this guy should be able to play. His college tape, all these kids' college tape was really, really good. Mm-hmm. So they got drafted where they got drafted. But you're seeing this skill set, and I keep going back to the guy. That's what I think our scouting department does such a good job of. Is the right kind of people, and eventually that person shows through the adversity, through the bumps and bruises, through everything else. They end up managing to deal with it and come out the other end being whatever their skill set says they're going to be. Because there still comes down to you still have to be. There's a level of talent and how you can execute on a day in, day out basis. But that's why you have to feel. So you look at Creed. What's his name? Creed Humphreys. I'm not Creed Humphreys. What's it? I can't say right. Measurables with Jake aren't that different. Because I was like looking, I'm saying, why is it that? Like I started looking at, because everybody sees him as being short. He's like 6'3", 6'3", 6'4". I mean, he's not. And then you start looking at the measurables. You're like, and I'm not putting him in that category today or anything. I'm just saying though that you can see the measurables and say, wow, this guy's got these traits. His shuttle time at the combine, his 3-cone, or whatever he did at his pro day, whenever he did his times, I don't even remember anymore. Yeah. And you see those things and go, and then the flip side of that story is, Dan Brunskill doesn't necessarily fit that prototype, but yet finds a way to get guys blocked on Sundays. Right. And has done a good job, So that's why I say it. That's my experience level. My experience is that they have those traits and they're the right kind of guy, you have a chance.
How has Aaron Banks progressed, improved since last year?
A lot. I mean, we talked about Aaron in the offseason, his getting his body in shape and doing, and not in shape, he was in shape, just getting himself ready to play. And he's had a great offseason. He's done everything. I said to him, when he came out and he got injured in the preseason, and then this, that, and the other thing happens, and as the year went on, he was more ready to play. I told our strength coach, I said, we'll know about Aaron Banks next camp. I said, yeah, whatever he's going to be this year for us will be fine, but I said, we'll know more about him. This is going to be a year from now. And what Aaron's done is he's done everything right. From the minute he got hurt to today, he's done everything right. Now what he has to do is he has to play. He has to play NFL football against good players, and then we'll see, where he ends up being. But like we just said, great guy, really good skill set. For a guy 330-something pounds, man, he can move and hit and strike. He does a ton of good things, but he's still got to go do it. Yeah. I had an old coach said to me once. He said, I got a great set of tools in the trunk of my car, but I don't know how to change a tire. Right. So those tools can only amount maybe to so much. But I'm not saying he can't change a tire. I'm just saying that Banks can. He's got a ton of ability, but we still have to see if you can use those, put those tools into play. That's my job. That's his job. That's our job to make sure that the kid is done. But he's done everything right to this point. So all these guys have. You can't look up and say, yeah, well, Banks he's done this. He hasn't done this. And no, it's all been right. Now it's just a matter of getting the reps and doing it. That's what to me has been the most frustrating thing for a line coach in today's NFL, with the limitations in the offseason. Wanting to keep guys healthy, which is paramount. You got to keep them healthy, but there's just not an excuse. It's just this is it. I mean, the clock really didn't start ticking in June. There just weren't a lot of practices, and the tempo was such that you're trying to keep guys healthy. So now here it is, every rep. That's why I've told the guys, I said, you can't look at camp as you can't have a training camp mentality, like, oh, here's the grind to camp. No, these reps are like, I got to get them, I got to go, I don't have time. And camp isn't that long anyway. These blocks of 3 days off, we're traveling, we're doing this. It's like bang, bang, bang. You better be ready to hit the ground running and get some work.